This is your singing telegram, I hope it finds you well. You're invited to a party cause we think you're really swell. Gummy's turning 1 year old, so help us celebrate. The cake will be delicious, the festivities first rate. There will be games and dancing, Bob for apples, cut a rug. And when the party's over, we'll gather round for a group hug. No need to bring a gift, being there will be enough. Birthdays mean having fun with friends, not getting lots of stuff. It won't be the same without you, so we hope that you'll say yes. So please, oh please, RSVP and come and be our guest. Party of One is structured around a clever ruse of misdirection. The episode can be broken up into 4 acts based on what goes on and what reactions are caused in the viewer and in Pinkie Pie. The first act is Gummy's birthday party, wherein Pinkie entertains her friends with games, food, and dancing. The first and most important misdirection happens during this scene. Each of Pinkie's friends states that they're having a good time, and we believe them just as Pinkie does. However, each of them encounters something a little uncomfortable at the party. First, Rainbow Dash and Applejack run into the traps in the apple bobbing tank. They don't seem upset by it, but maybe a little jarred. Next, there's Rarity, who's enjoying the punch until she realizes that Gummy's been swimming in it. Rarity seems the most uncomfortable with this development, spitting out her drink, politely taking another sip, and then spitting that one out too. Finally, there's Twilight and Fluttershy, who are enjoying themselves, but are dizzied by the way that Pinkie knocks them into the walls with her dancing. When the party is over, the friends all say that they had a wonderful time. Pinkie invites Twilight in to finish the cake and Twilight passes, but it's not enough reason to think that Twilight didn't really enjoy herself. The point of this scene is to tread a careful line between making Pinkie's parties look exhausting and making it look like the ponies genuinely enjoy the party anyways. Rewatching the episode, we know that the truth is that the ponies just love Pinkie's parties regardless of the weird stuff, but the weird stuff is the key to the next act. Said act consists of Pinkie visiting each of her friends to invite them to another party. This afternoon. Each friend blatantly blows Pinkie off with increasingly random and desperate excuses. During this act, the viewer begins to suspect that something's not right here. Our first instinct is to believe that because Pinkie's parties are demonstrably exhausting, the ponies are trying to get out of having one 2 nights in a row. It's fun to rewatch this act and see the looks of confusion on each pony's face when they realize that Pinkie has no idea it's her birthday. We realize, even before Pinkie does, that her friends are avoiding her party, so we become suspicious of them even before she does. It's because of this that we totally understand Pinkie's feelings and how she will eventually go off the deep end. Even though we empathize with what we see as desperation on the part of Pinkie's friends, we empathize even more with Pinkie because we hate to be lied to and abandoned by our friends as well. This dual empathy is what guides us through the third act, in which it quickly becomes apparent that there's more going on than what meets the eye. We easily recognize that the friends are planning something, and we suspect that there's no malicious intent on their part. However, since we recognized the secrets and lies even before Pinkie did, and we understand that Pinkie is receiving this treatment from her own friends, we totally get why she starts to feel hurt and suspicious towards them. Some of the episode's key moments depend on the honest personalities of Rainbow Dash and Applejack. Fluttershy, Rarity, and Twilight seem to relish in this whole spy scenario that they're acting out, being extra careful and keeping Pinkie in hiding. We suspect that if Pinkie confronted any of them, they would have brushed her off a lot more easily. However, the first pony Pinkie comes into contact with is Rainbow Dash, who immediately goes into a full-on panic. Unable to formulate a good lie, but also not wanting to spoil the surprise, she just takes off, leading to a clever reuse of the gag that Pinkie Pie is faster than Rainbow Dash, in the same way that it was used in Griffin the Brush-Off. This gag has symbolic importance because the last time it happened was when Rainbow Dash genuinely didn't like Pinkie Pie and was actively avoiding her. As Pinkie reenacts this memory, she grows increasingly frustrated and suspicious. Rainbow Dash tosses the problem off on Element of Honesty Applejack, whose excuse is every bit as terrible as her execution. Again, the fact that Applejack is supposed to be honest makes her disingenuousness even more disconcerting. Pinkie finally reaches her tipping point and brings in Spike, who has nothing to do with anything and no idea what Pinkie's getting at. Pinkie gets him to speak her mind, which to her is a verification of her suspicion, and she mentally breaks. Pinkie's psychosis is surprising, but it cleverly uses the Cutie Mark Chronicles as a precedent through the simple act of having Pinkie's mane deflate and her coat turn dark. We know that there was a time before Pinkie discovered fun, when she worked on a rock farm and never smiled. Now we see Pinkie regressing into her old self, and it all seems to add up. It goes beyond being an out-there gag and becomes a real part of Pinkie's character. For me, this is the first part in building Pinkie as the most interesting character in the show, which is followed up by A Friend Indeed in Season 2. I will have a lot to say about that episode when I get to it, but we'll save that for another time. At the end of the episode, the twisting misdirection pays off. Our Act 3 suspicion that Pinky's friends had no malicious intent proves true. If Act 3 made us suspect that the excuses made in Act 2 were more than just excuses, Act 4 makes us realize that in Act 1 the ponies were being genuine about loving Pinky's parties, in spite of whatever discomfort they may have felt. Outside of this core narrative, the episode is loaded with fun stuff. Andrea Libman turns in one of the most diverse and amazing vocal performances in the show, covering a large range of emotions from joy to rage to utter sadness, which is a place that Pinky isn't used to going, and she makes every line memorable. Not to mention creating a bunch of funny voices that Pinky talks to herself through. This episode is chock full of funny little sight gags and details, from Rarity absorbing a cake into her tail, to Pinky looking all rejected while wearing this ridiculous disguise, to her amazing face-off with Applejack that pushes the expressiveness of the ponies' faces into a fun new direction. But of course, the most legendary scene in this episode, and the one which made it one of the most popular episodes of MLP, is Pinkie Pie totally losing her shit. I don't really need to go into what makes this great, because it should be obvious. Pinky's whacked out facial expressions, these splatter paint backgrounds, and the fact that she's talking to inanimate objects. Just as an aside, I think Madame LaFlower is supposed to be a reference to the classic animation test in which animators are told to give weight and personality to a bag of flour. Anyways, that about does it for this episode. While you're waiting for my next analysis, why don't you go check out this new portfolio site I just made called Modal Soul Productions. It's got links to all of the videos and writing that I've done over the past couple years, be they analytical, original, pony, video game, comedy, fiction, non-fiction, whatever. If you like my style, check some of this stuff out and maybe you'll find more things that you like.